I'm gonna just admit everyone.
Awesome.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this session. We are very fortunate to have here with us Jan Gustafson-Corea, and she's going to introduce our presenter for this presentation. Go ahead, Jan.
Hi, Francisco. Thank you so much. And hi, everybody. It is just great to see you all. I'm really happy that you're here. And our idea coming together is just to bring our educators together who are working in programs, potentially Vietnamese language programs or other Asian language programs, just to see how we can come together, provide more support to each other, learn from each other, and grow together as well. We are going to be expecting Dr. Annie Young soon. Annie's on the CABE board of directors, and she's actually the one member of our organization from our board that's trying to help us coordinate this work as well. So she's really excited to meet with everybody today. And then, of course, as we shared, we're just really thrilled to have Bao here with us today, Bao Phi. You heard him in the keynote earlier today. And I'm not sure how many of you were with us at CABE 2 years ago, but Bao was a presenter, keynote for us then as well. And he met with the group. Was anybody part of that meeting 2 years ago? Just raise your real hand or your virtual hand. Not sure if anybody was. Okay, well, that's okay. That's fine. So, it's just super exciting to see you all here. For CABE, we are really wanting to strengthen our work and support around Asian language programs. We're very proud of what we see happening throughout the state in other languages. We see many Vietnamese programs now, Korean, Chinese. We are working with some in the Fresno area with some of our Hmong schools in that area as well. And in Long Beach, we also have some Cambodian programs there too. So there's just a really interesting kind of mix. But I think with CABE, we have just really tried to think, well, how could we be really much more supportive and help the programs grow? So that's kind of what we're here for today, is just to have a chance to dialogue together. And also to give you the opportunity to meet Bao a little more personally and have a chance to talk with him a little bit too. And then maybe talk about, well, how does this even fit into what we're doing in schools? So Bao, I think I'm going to turn it to you. And then after that, we'll go around and introduce everybody else that's in the room, okay?
That sounds good. Thank you. Xin chào các bạn. My name's Bao. Thank you to CABE for having me again. Obviously, even though my Vietnamese language skills are not very good, the idea of bilingual education and the necessity of it and the centering of it in life is a subject that's near and dear to my heart. You've probably listened to me talk for the last hour, so I don't really have a lot more to say. I don't want to just blab to you, but I do want to acknowledge that last week on Monday, 33 Vietnamese men were deported. And the following day, a white supremacist or a very disturbed person shot and murdered 8 people, 6 of whom were Asian American women. It has been very difficult for me to process. It has been very difficult for many of my friends to process. And I just want us to be able to, I just want to say, for my part, if this needs to become a space where people need to talk about that or would find value to talk about that, I am more than willing to. I'm obviously not an expert. I'm just a community member who has a lot of feelings and a lot of thoughts about what has happened. I just want us to come into this space saying that it is okay to bring those feelings into this space and to want to talk about them. And I think I'll just leave that there.
Wow, thank you so much, Bao. Just really appreciate that. And would love to hear from all of you today. So why don't we just start, if we could just first start, just if you'd introduce yourself and maybe what district you're with, just a quick go around the room, and then we'll maybe have a chance to get into that a little bit more deeply. And I'll share a little bit more afterwards too, the kind of some of the steps that CABE has taken. But we really would just love to have that dialogue together. So I'm seeing, let's see, Betty Ta, you're kind of next to me on the grid. So Betty, would you introduce yourself, and then people to just kind of jump in, everybody, okay, as you go along. Okay, so Betty. would you start?
Hi, my name is Betty Ta. I work for Garden Grove Unified School District. This year, I'm a teacher on special assignment, and I support K-12. So I support the K-6 dual Vietnamese language program, as well as all 712 world languages. So that includes Spanish, Heritage, French, German, Latin, and everything in between. So thank you for having me at CABE, and it's a pleasure. I really enjoyed your keynote, such a powerful presentation. And it's just a pleasure to be here. So thank you.
I'll follow Betty. Betty's my partner. My name is Leanne Thompson, and I'm a K-6 TOSA. I support all teachers in all subject areas in K-6 at a specific school site. Some of our teachers here today, including the dual immersion Vietnamese program that we have growing in Garden Grove. We are now up to grade 2 this year and growing into grade 3. So glad to be here. Thank you.
Thanks, Leanne.
Hi, I'm Shannon Villanueva, neighbors to Garden Grove. I'm the principal at DeMille Elementary School in Westminster School District, where we also have our Vietnamese dual language immersion program. And I see some of my teachers in the room here as well. We are up to 5th grade now. We have preschool through 5th grade. Next year, we will be school-wide K-6, which is kind of amazing. And we did have the privilege and pleasure of meeting Bao a couple of years ago. It's so nice to see you again. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm looking forward to learning and working with you all.
Shannon, it's great to see you. Thanks for being with us and our DeMille folks. Who else is here from DeMille?
Hi, so my name is Thierry Truong. I'm a TK teacher at DeMille. Hello, Dr. Villanueva. And hello to everyone. It's very nice to see you again.
Hi, my name is Owen Tran. I am one of the teachers at DeMille as well. And I was very emotional earlier when I was listening to your poem, Bao. Oh my goodness, I thank you for sharing your journey. And I'm gonna cry again. But it's just perfect of everything that we're going through. And listening to your poem, it paints a beautiful picture, and I would love, would it be possible if we get a copy of it and we'll share with our colleagues and students?
Yeah, I'm going to, it's actually online, so I'll, while you're chatting, I'll look up the link very quickly and I'll just put it in the chat. And
thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
My name is Van Vu, and I'm a teacher at Garden Grove Murdy School in Garden Grove Unified School District. And I'm currently teaching TKK, Vietnamese, and English. I'm self-contained, and there are some of my friends here, so maybe they can introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Trung. I'm at Murdy Elementary in Garden Grove School District. And this year I'm teaching the 2nd grade dual immersion program, and I'm also a self-contained class. I'm teaching Vietnamese and English, and it's very nice to meet everyone here today. Thank you.
Hi, piggyback from Caitlin. I'm Connie Lee. I also teach at Murdy. This is my 2nd year at Murdy teaching a dual program, and I'm also self-contained, and I'm Caitlin's partner.
Hi, I'm Tasha Torney. I'm a 1st grade teacher at Windmill Springs in Franklin McKinley School District in San Jose. And it's my 1st year teaching in a Vietnamese English dual immersion program. I'm the English teacher. Last year, I spent a year in a Spanish English dual immersion, so I come from that background. I also have your book, and it was one of the first children's books I read, specifically with Vietnamese characters and telling Vietnamese stories. So thank you so much, and I'm just really happy to be here. I started a Facebook group for Vietnamese dual immersion educators. I also linked it in the chat, And it's a small group, but I'm trying to get to know as many people in this space. So thank you for having me here.
Thank you.
My name is Han Tran, and I'm a district community liaison from Garden Grove Unified School District. And we are providing interpretation support, so for Vietnamese speaking families. And I'm very excited because this is my first time with CABE. So I'm really, really excited. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, everybody. I'm Quintran Vu. I'm a kindergarten dual immersion teacher at DeMille. This is my 5th year in the dual program, and I'm glad to be here today.
Thank you. Did we miss anybody?
Hi, my name is Nyong Lê. I'm not sure if this is just only for dual immersion, but I'm teaching math. Math. Am I the only math person in here?
You may
No,
be
but-
even
but-
happy,
but-
but that's okay.
welcome. It doesn't matter. It's cool. We like math. Well, I don't honestly, but we won't hold that against you, right? Like we can have math folks in here, right?
I'm not taking it personal. I told my student, imagine your life without math. It's like you have no clothes to wear, no house to live in, no road to drive on. So then whenever they say, oh, math is this, I'm not, that's why I told them. Thank you.
I'm pretty certain my teachers are teaching math in both English and Vietnamese. So
Sounds good. Have we gone through our participants?
We've gone through all the teachers. I'm Tan. I'm not a teacher. I'm just a parent in GGUSD.
Yes.
And then my youngest is actually graduating high school this year. So it's quite exciting. But I just want to chime in and, really say thank you to all of our educators, because it's been a really rough year for everybody. And I just can't imagine, being a teacher. Yeah, so I really just want to say thank you.
Thank you, Tan. We appreciate that. I want to acknowledge too that besides being here from CABE, I'm really proud to be here with Griselda Perez and Natalie Hernandez and Francisco Velasco as well from our CABE team. And they're here helping facilitate today's session. So thank you so much. I think we might have gotten through everybody. I guess I just want to share with you, and then I just want to open it up and Bao, of course, have you share more, with what happened about a week ago now, right? CABE as an organization, we were just devastated by it. We came off of what happened last summer with George Floyd, and then, those are just recent issues, incidents of really decades, centuries really of racism in our society. And these just kind of rip open those wounds again, right? They just bring it out. And after going through the last several years with the kind of administration, the rhetoric that came out of that, we've made some transitions, but we still know that that deep rootedness of discrimination and racism is so prevalent in our society. And if it's in our society, it's in our schools. And our teachers and educators are really in a place where, and how challenging we're, teaching remotely and all these things are happening, and you're having to address them as well. And so we are here with you. We don't have all the answers, I will say, but we have definitely the respect and just really the commitment to be part of the solution. And so you'll see in the swag bag for the conference, we sent it out via social media and other ways. CABE has made a statement just really in support of our Asian community, our Asian brothers and sisters, our students, our families. And so we invite you to look for that. That said, I think it's just your personal stories and what you're dealing with and how that's affecting you is what's really rises to the top and important. So, well, how about if I turn it back to you and maybe you can share a little bit more what you're thinking, or maybe we could just have some more dialogue together around that too.
Sure. Thank you so much. And thank you, Tan, for also acknowledging educators. I'm a father to an 11-year-old. Like Tan said, I cannot imagine what this year has been like. Hats off to you as educators. I can barely stand helping my child do online learning, let alone do that for 30 or how many kids that you do it for every day in and day out. So thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, like I also want to acknowledge that I don't have to be participating in this talk as an expert or even the center of this conversation. Like I feel like if this is a networking thing for educators, I'm more than willing to step back and let you all talk amongst yourselves, because you know more about bilingual education obviously than I do. I don't work in education. I'm a poet and a writer and a dad. That's about it. Again, I just want to stress, maybe the last thing I'll say, and I would love to have a conversation about this, is like the events of the past 2 weeks, among many things, among many hurts and feelings, also, I think, demonstrated that we still do not know how to speak about race, and confront issues of race in our country. We still do not know, and even those of us who are well versed in speaking about race and race issues do not know how to have a vision and a pedagogy about race that includes the cultural, economic, and military imperialism and colonialism that happens throughout Asia, that happens through the Middle East, that happens through Central and South America, which are the cause for so many of our people being here. And until people understand those reasons for being here, I believe that these conversations are going to be very superficial, to be very honest with you. I can't tell you how many reactions, and not necessarily from bad people, although there are plenty of bad people out there. But even if we narrow it down to the reactions I've seen from good people, a lot of those reactions kind of show that people are like, oh, racism against Asian people happens. You know what I mean? And that it takes such a devastating atrocity for us to even have a conversation where Asian people are included, talking about our experiences of race. To me, that's a very sad thing, and it shows, and not to be mean or to call anyone out, but I think that just demonstrates that people don't know how to talk about or conceive of Asian Americans, and I would say also Arab Americans and Latinx Americans. Like, what do we have to do with race? Like, what are our experiences with race, right? And that, again, from what I just said the hour before, is also very personal to me because I'm a dad, and it's a continual. And I'm raising my daughter in a very working class, very multiracial, progressive environment, and it still takes a lot of work for me and her mother to insist on these things. Does that make sense? And so, again, kudos to all of you as educators. Thank you so much. And I am dealing with a tiny bit of an emergency. So if you see me turn off my microphone and my camera for a moment, it's not disrespectful. I will be back. So I apologize in advance for that.
Thank you so much, Bao. And I just want to acknowledge that Dr. Annie Jung has joined us. Annie, I'm going to pass it over to you. We've had a great time getting to meet each other, talk a little bit about what, some of the initial things as we've had to deal with the situation last week, the killings in Georgia, and just that whole impact of racial, violence that's been brought upon the Asian community, as well as other communities as well. And so, Annie, can you hear us? We don't see you, but we can see
yes,
your
Jane.
screen.
For some reason, I am on and I have my camera on, but I don't see myself. I just see my screen.
Okay, well, that's okay, but welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. And I apologize for being late. In fact, if you might still hear it, I introduced Dr. Stephen Gratian, and I kind of fight with everyone on the board to introduce Dr. Stephen Gratian because he's my hero. So and he's live, so I'm just between you and him. But I am so excited to have this session with you, because we would like to have a stronger network of Asian, Vietnamese, Asian together so that uh, we can advocate for our Vietnamese, Cambodian, Hmong, all our Asian students, because a lot of our students are English learners, and even if they are not, if they come in already proficient, we want them to be bilingual, multilingual. And that's why we are here. That's why we are here together. So I am so glad to have this opportunity with you, even it's a short one. I think I recognize a lot of you from about 3 years ago, where we had the opportunity together. And so what I would like to ask you to do for me is that if in chat, if you can put down your name and maybe your contact information for me, so that when this is over, then I will have the group that I can start getting us together and do things together, or with other function from CABE. Hi, Shannon, I saw you.
Hey, Annie, this is Jan again, and I'm going to have to jump off in a sec to go to another event. But
okay,
we also started talking a little bit about this is what happened a week ago, and we might even want to, if people feel free to want to share a little bit of that, kind of what that situation has been like in their teaching. How do we deal with those issues in classrooms? So that might also come out in some of our conversation. We started talking about that a little bit too. Okay.
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 Yes, sure.
So friends, I just so appreciate you. I'll see you later, but have a wonderful time together. Thank you so much. And thank you,
Jan.
Val. Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Jan. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you so much. As I see, you have started to put your contact information in. Hi, Bao. Sorry, I was late because I was introducing another keynote, another speaker. So
Kong Sao Kong, come on.
yeah. I came in when you were talking about the events that happened last week, and then I thought of your poem that you read at the end of the keynote section today. I'm going to ask you some questions. Is it okay? And then
It's okay with me. Is it okay with everybody else?
is that okay with everyone? And I will say, feel free to jump in.
Yeah,
this is
definitely.
our network. This is for us. It's not something like formal. That this is a time that we are networking. We are getting together. So my question to Bao is that as you witness things happen, and I think many of us do too, not just recently, but in years past. I mean, recently is the extreme, but we have experienced these all the time.
Yes.
Whether it's implicit or explicit, we've experienced them. So as you see what happened recently, how do you what's your vision in maybe incorporate it in the work that you do? And I think I admire you for taking a different approach instead of say us against them.
Thank you. Thank you for the observation and for the question. I think someone much smarter than me said many years ago that for those of us who are marginalized people, people of color, non-white people, that we're excluded from the history books, right? And that in some ways, people who write books or write poems or make movies or make arts, in our communities, that is our historians, right? Those are our historians. And in a way, I feel like my function is a little bit like that as a community historian, right? Like you said, this is nothing new. And not even in just the last year. There was the shooting at Oak Creek at the Sikh temple of South Asian people. There was the shooting of elementary Southeast Asian school children in Stockton, California. That was in the 90s, wasn't it? Or 1989, somewhere back then. So these things keep happening. I'll tell you a quick story. I was asked just last month to speak to a Southeast Asian college student group, and they asked me to read out aloud a poem from my first book to Tin Min Lee, who was a Vietnamese American who was murdered by white supremacists. And they asked me to read it to them just last week. And those students were not even born when that happened in 1996. And similar to, the case we're hearing now, the district attorney originally refused to admit that race was a factor in the murder of Tin Min Lee, even though the two people who killed him were white supremacists who bragged that they had killed a Jap, okay, even though he was Vietnamese. So I guess that's a very long way of saying that part of being an artist and a writer for me is to kind of observe and write these things down so they're not lost. I will admit that it's a little bit challenging because we live in the internet age, right? No one reads books anymore. Like, unless you write it in a tweet, it doesn't exist, right? Like, history is now Twitter, right? History is now Facebook and Instagram. And I will admit, and I'm going to sound like a grumpy old person for saying this, but I feel like there's almost like a consciousness where if it's not on the internet, then it hasn't happened, right? If someone on Twitter hasn't talked about it, it hasn't really happened. If I can't find a Facebook post about it, it hasn't happened. When in reality, these things are linked to history and these systems that have hurt us for so long. Also, speaking of technology, I'm getting these messages that people are waiting and I'm just letting them in. I should be doing that, right? Like, that's okay. I'm just letting everybody in. I don't, whatever.
And we can take care of that too, Val, so that way you don't get distracted.
I didn't know like who was seeing that or not. So
yeah, we're all seeing it, like
Okay.
the co-host and host, so we can help you with that. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Perfect. Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. It does. Thank you, Val. Anyone else? Hi, we have our keynote here with us.
And you don't have to address anything to me. If you just want to talk about your feelings or thoughts, please share if you're willing or feel the need to.
I noticed that, with our Asian, let me see if I can, I think my volume's all the way high. Throughout my 20 years of teaching, I noticed, and also I noticed that when we receive this group of Asian students, or if you have an ears open out there in the hallway or in the teacher's lounge, you can always say that, we are being faced with this label as Asian kids are good at math. So, and the other students in the group also say the other Asian kid, oh, you know what? You're supposed to be good at math. Why are you not doing well? So with our the group of Asian kids, they are pretty quiet. We are in our culture that most of the time we were trained to be polite, to not speak out as much. So that, I know that there's a group of maybe Asian kids who went to school back in the country before they get into the USA. Then yes, they were trained. They know they're good at math. But there are groups of students, Asian students that were born here, or from the countryside when they come over to the USA without any prior education. For example, me, I came from Vietnam. I came over here. I have never went to school. We were so poor that we don't even have enough food to eat. So I have never been to school. I didn't know how to read or write, and come here at a 12-year-old, being placed in what is it called? 6th grade at the end. And as you notice, it's hard for me. And you have this label that Asian kids are good at math. So, and they're so quiet that it's easily forgotten. And so as a teacher, we need to be aware of those kids, and especially with a Hmong group of kids, they don't have a written language for some of them. So they don't have that, prior education skill in math or in writing. So we have to pay attention to those kids as well.
Thank you so much. I can't remember if I mentioned this already, but when I was in junior high, so I've always spoke English like this. And by junior high, I was already reading tons of books and writing stories already by that time. And when I went to junior high, I was placed in English second language class and advanced mathematics. And at the time, I didn't understand what was happening, right? Like I sat in ESL and took a test, and I was like, wow, this class is really easy. Like I'm gonna have a really easy time in this class, right? Like I was like, I don't even have to think about this test. I'm acing it. I was like, wow, I had it made. And then in math, I was like, what is happening? Like I had no idea what was going on. And then after a few days, the teachers were like, oh, there may have been a mistake made, right? And I didn't realize until many years later, as an adult, that was racial, right? It was a racial profiling moment. And I thank you for bringing that up. I agree. Yes, so thank you.
I obviously am not Vietnamese or of Asian descent, but I am married to a Filipino, and my daughter is adopted from China. And my husband was born in the Philippines and came here when he was a baby, so he doesn't really have any recollection of the Philippines. And my daughter came here when she was 8 months old. My challenge right now, in light of the recent events and just in life, I don't know how to talk to my daughter. She's 9 years old, so aware of the world now, but not really positive. And I can't speak from my own experiences. And I feel very, very protective of both of them. So it just, I just don't, I would love some thoughts on how to help her navigate the world.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. There's actually several articles going around right now, written by Asian adults who are adopted into white families about this particular moment and things that they wish their parents, would have done or said or tried to help them prepare. So there's articles out there actually happening right now in this moment about that. There's also a book called Outsiders Within, and it is a book of essays by transracial adoptees. And these are transracial adoptees who are Black, Asian, Latinx, Native American, writing about their experiences. So I think that would be a good start. I understand, even though I don't have the exact same situation that you have, that has been a continual struggle. So I'm Vietnamese mostly. I think I might be 1/4 Chinese total because both of my parents have a little bit of Chinese blood in them. But I mean, by all intents and purposes, I was raised Vietnamese and I identify as a Vietnamese person, right? My former partner of my child is mixed white and Chinese. And so our child is a mix of Chinese, white, and Viet, right? From both parents, all mixed together. And there's a way in which we actually ask the same questions as you. She's an academic, I'm a poet, and we've never been people who shied away from hard issues. But then how do you talk to your children, right, about these difficult things? I guess what I would say is, and this it's probably not even going to help you, but you got to find a way, because at some point the world's not going to give you a choice anymore. George Floyd was killed 3 blocks away from where my daughter grew up in her daycare, right? With a bunch of Black, Native American, Latinx, and white kids and Asian kids. This beautiful daycare, literally. So he was murdered on 38th in Chicago, a place where I've gone to get chicken take out chicken and also pick up FedEx packages. Like 3 blocks from there is where he was killed. And even if I wanted to keep my daughter away from that information, which I don't, I don't want to keep her away from that information. But even if I did, at some point, I would have to address why, when we go through that part of the neighborhood, there's a huge memorial and people are crying, right? Going back even further, when Philando Castile was murdered, he was murdered in a suburb of St. Paul, but he was a black man who worked in an elementary school like hers. And, when that happened, the black men who worked at the elementary school that my daughter went to talked about their experience, right? And their fear of police and police brutality. So you kind of hear what I'm saying, right? Like even if I decided to be like, oh, I want to shield her, there's at some point you're going to have no choice. But the difficulty is, how do you do it without traumatizing them?
Yeah, and that's just it. She's fully aware that she's adopted. She's fully aware that she's Chinese, and she's in a Mandarin immersion program, but we try to preserve that. And we've seen the protests even here in Southern California, and we try to put it in the understanding of a 9-year-old. But I know that at some point she will be the subject of racism. I know that. No matter. And so how even other people in this room can chime in too. It's just I just want her to be a strong person that know that knowing that she is valued.
Absolutely. I am so sorry for talking so much. We only have 4 minutes left, so I'm not going to say another word. Somebody else talk.
Thank you.
No, Bao, thank you. We, I think as Shannon was asking the question, I'm thinking about our classroom. We had a lot of Vietnamese teachers in the room right now. What about our classroom? How are we talking to our children, our family about what's going on? Do you have questions, or did you have parents or kids who are talking about it? And how did you deal with it? How's our community deal with it?
I'll share an experience.
Thank you, Lynn.
Sure. My daughter, who's also of mixed race, she's half Caucasian and half Vietnamese, obviously, did come home, was very concerned about Owen Ba. She came home and asked and said, they're not going outside, are they? And that's hard, because what do you say when you see such hate out there? All you can do is just teach your kids about kindness, I think, reassure them that they are loved, and that, for us, it's really, our faith really carries us through far. So that's helped a lot.
Thank you for sharing, Lynn. Anyone else? I just want to let you know we only had a few minutes before the session is over. And I am hoping that we continue the conversation and continue the networking. So with your permission, after the session, I'll send an email out to everyone so that we can keep that connection. And we need to support one another. We need to lean on one another to help ourselves, to help our children, our own children, and the students that we are working with, along with our family, because we have families out there. We have not just only our immediate family, we got relatives. And then how do we deal with this? And again, I admire Bao, and I am taking on to his perspective of like, we don't want to create a thing of us against them? How do we get a peaceful community where everyone is working together, and we're not going to tell our children to hate the people who committed the crime? Instead, we need to have a more positive approach, and like there's something going on. They did not understand. They did not understand.
Absolutely.
And if I may add, you know, back just several years ago when I was writing my dissertation, and my dissertation was on the model minority myth, you know, I just read so much research regarding how the model minority myth hurts Asian Americans. And as educators, right, we're in the position where we have the power to demystify that myth. And with everything that's happening right now, I think we are so crucial, and we play such an important role in that first step, right? Is to unite everyone with the basis of understanding. How are we going to advocate for our students by just the first step of demystifying that myth?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I agree with you like 1,000%. You know, I agree with you 1,000%. Thank you so much for saying that. I totally agree.
I was just gonna say that, sorry, there's echo in here. That it starts with each one of us. So whatever you can do in your classroom, you know, we need to do it each as an individual, whatever area of influence we have, to start having those conversations.
Thank you, Elodia.
Yes, thank you so much. And I totally agree with that. And again, very quickly, you know, that's something that I hope for the school that my daughter goes to, which is rarely racially diverse. And, you know, like these horrible events, like we can only hope that some meaningful change and allyship will come out from them. So I totally agree. And the model minority myth hurts. It hurts everyone, really, right? It hurts the people of color that are told that you know, racism doesn't exist, which is why it was created, right? Partially. And it hides, like Betty was alluding to, it hides the pain and suffering and the struggle of those of us who do struggle against racism, which is all of us. It obfuscates that. And you all as educators have the power to question that mythology and to say, no, that's actually not correct. Asian people do experience struggle and racism. Like, you know, like it sounds simple, but like that is a very simple thing that some people actually refuse to do. And so that is like something that you can educate yourself on and pass along and create an environment in your class where, you know, and I think what Annie is saying, like, you know, we don't want to make enemies out of anyone, you know, like you don't need to be vindictive about it. It's more like we all benefit from learning from one another. Right? Like I benefit learning about Black people. I benefit learning from Native American, Arab, Latinx, mixed people, from women, from queer people. I learn from people who are not like me. And I think people who are not Asian, you know, people who are Asian benefit from, right? Those of us who speak up, and those who are not Asian benefit from learning about us as well. And I think you all have the power to create that environment to say all of us need to be part of this conversation and learning. And if I just said I wouldn't talk and I totally talked. Can I put in the, sorry, can I put in the message in the chat too? If any of you are interested, so I'm sure you've heard of the novelist Viet Thanh Nguyen, who wrote The Sympathizer. He wrote a follow-up called The Committed, and I will be interviewing him tomorrow about his new book. Two Vietnamese guys just talking about his novel, but of course we're going to be talking about these issues as well. I put it in the chat, the link to that. If anyone is interested, join us tomorrow night.
And I really appreciate everyone's time. I hate having to close this because it's such a, you know, what an incredible conversation and just very powerful. But we're so time like crunched. You can't really have such an in-depth conversation in just 40 minutes. But I appreciate everyone's time. And like I said in the chat, you know, the closing ceremony starts in 5 minutes. And if you do have time to complete that, the feedback link, that way we can continue giving you like this type of conversation and, you know, spaces. And just in general, thank you so much, Bao, and thank you so much, Annie. I really appreciate your time, and everyone in here too. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. And like I said, I will take your information and I will start a conversation. And again, hopefully we can continue to keep in touch with Bao as well.
Yep, I'll put my email in there. Yep.
Yes, I got your email too. So we'll create. Yes, thank you so much, everyone. We'll go to the closing session together.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
I'm gonna end this, okay?
Okay.
If you get kicked out, it's not. Don't take it personal.